It was always booth 4. Same time, same man. Tuesday nights, 7 p.m. Hank, late 60s, wore the same brown jacket, same quiet face. Chamomile tea, no sugar. Tip, left under the salt shaker, $2.47. Exact change. Every time. Marisol never questioned it. She worked a late shift at Red Fern Diner, just off I-85 in rural Georgia. Not the kind of place you notice, unless your tire blows, or your life's been sitting still too long. Marisol had only been there 6 months. She moved to town to escape things she couldn't name, yet told herself it was temporary. Then came that Thursday. The man didn't come in, but someone else did. She was clearing booth 4 when she found it. A crumpled photo under the napkin holder, faded at the edges, but still clear. A little girl, maybe 5 years old, standing on a wooden porch with a red balloon in her hand. On the back, in all caps, missing Lucy J. Ward, last seen 1998. Marisol frowned. A flyer? That old? Why now? She tucked it into her apron and took it home. That night, she couldn't sleep. Something about the girl's eyes felt familiar. Not the photo, the expression. And then it hit her. Hank, the regular. Booth 4. Quiet eyes. Same smile line in one corner. Same dimple on the left. No, it couldn't be. But once the thought arrived, it stayed. She started watching. The next week, Hank came in as usual. Sat at booth 4. Chamomile tea. No sugar. But Marisol noticed more. He always parked his car behind the alley camera. He wore gloves, even in spring. And when she asked once if he'd seen a girl leave a photo, he blinked for a second too long. Can't say I have. That pause was small, but her gut didn't forget. She started writing things down. Quietly. May 6th. He hummed the same song. Sounded like an old jingle, something from the 90s. May 13th. He flinched when a cop came in for pie. May 20th. He took his tea to go. First time ever. She found a notebook from the Red Fern supply closet. Began recording tiny details. Voices. Words. Tips. Behavior. Not much, but enough to start wondering. Who was Hank? One slow night, she followed him out. Kept her distance as he walked down the side of the road and vanished into the woods across. From the diner. No car this time. Just him. She waited 10 minutes, then went to look. There was nothing. Just trees, thick grass, and the sound of crickets. But on a tree stump, she found a plastic teacup, pink, worn, and child-sized. It was too specific to be random. She took a photo, and something in her chest turned cold. Back at home, she opened her laptop. She searched the missing girl's name, Lucy J. Ward. One hit. A cold case podcast episode from 3 years ago. The host, Cleo Voss, had covered it, briefly, saying the trail had gone cold near Alabama. Alabama was 90 minutes from the diner. The last known sighting? A rest stop outside Montgomery, where a man matching Hank's build was seen with a young girl buying teacups. She sat back. The puzzle pieces were small, but they were forming something big. Marisol knew better than to go to the police. Not yet. She needed more. Something that couldn't be ignored. The next day, she checked Hank's receipt. He'd signed the check J. Harper. Not Hank. Not even close. And when she checked the CCTV logbook in the back office, the tape from Tuesday, Hank's last visit, was missing. Only that tape. She didn't say a word, but she emailed Cleo Voss. Subject line: cold case tip. I think I found Lucy Ward. No reply, so she kept digging. That weekend, she watched Hank enter the woods again, this time carrying a small bag. She followed, deeper this time, and what she found stopped her breath. A small cabin, half collapsed. Looked like it hadn't been touched in years until now. There were fresh footprints outside, and inside, a child's mattress, worn shoes, tea sets, stacked in a corner. It was like someone had frozen a childhood in time. But there was no sign of anyone. Only a map on the wall, marked with dots and dates. Every date aligned with a known child disappearance in the southeast. Her stomach twisted. Hank wasn't Hank. And Lucy wasn't the only one. She snapped pictures. Every dot, every map, every cup, every mattress. Sent it all to Cleo Voss. Subject line: proof, please check before it's too late. That night, Cleo called. Her voice was calm, but urgent. We're going to take this to the authorities. But Marisol, are you safe? Marisol hesitated. She was standing in the red fern cooler, phone against her cheek, surrounded by cases of milk and leftover pies. She looked toward booth 4. It was empty again. No, she whispered, but I will be. Marisol didn't go home that night. She stayed at the diner after close, watching through the window. Booth 4. Hank's booth. It stared back at her like an empty stage. It was after midnight when headlights finally appeared. A rusty brown sedan pulled into the side alley. Same as always. Hank stepped out, gloved hands. Same jacket. Slow walk. But he didn't come inside. Instead, he opened his trunk, lifted something out, small, plastic, pink. A teacup. He walked toward the tree line and vanished. By morning, Marisol had forwarded everything. The cabin photos, the map, the time-stamped notebook pages to both Cleo Voss and the state investigator Cleo trusted. Still no response. Until noon. That's when 2 men in dark jackets walked into the red fern and flashed badges. They didn't say much, just asked, "You the one who found the cabin?" She nodded. They nodded back. Then one of them said, "Don't go near that man again, and don't follow him. We've been watching him for years." Years? Then why was he still walking around? The answer came as a whisper. Not enough to hold him. Until now. The agents left. Quiet fast. That night, booth 4 was empty again. But on the tabletop sat a folded napkin. On it, written in blocky pen, "You've been asking questions." Her stomach dropped. She looked around. No Hank. No car. No shadow at the door. Just the note. She didn't go back the next day. Called out sick. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking, and her mind wouldn't stop spinning. Had she ruined everything? Had he seen her near the cabin? Near the freezer? Near the map? She stared at her phone for hours. Nothing from Cleo. Nothing from the investigators. Just her notebook, and fear thick in the air. Then, on Friday afternoon, a knock at her door. A young woman stood there. Maybe mid-20s. Long dark braid. Nervous eyes. "You don't know me," she said. "But I think you knew my dad." Marisol blinked. "What?" "My name's Lucy. Lucy Ward." She stepped inside, shaking. "I heard your name on the podcast. Cleo Voss mentioned you. She said you found the cabin." Marisol couldn't breathe. You're alive?" Lucy nodded. "I don't remember everything, but I remember the tea sets. I remember the freezer. And I remember a voice that always said, 'Don't ask questions. Don't make noise.' Tears welled in her eyes. Until one day I escaped, but I never knew where I was, or who he really was." Marisol handed her the photo she'd kept since day one. Lucy took it in both hands. "This is me," she whispered. Then she looked up, "And I think he's back." Turns out, she'd been living under a new name for years. Foster care, new ID, hidden files. But something about the podcast had brought it all back. The pink cup, the smell of the diner, the red balloon. "I didn't know how to come forward," Lucy said, "until I heard what you found." They went together to the authorities. This time, they didn't just listen. They acted. Hank, whose real name was James Harper, an ex-trucker with a sealed juvenile record, was arrested just a day later, leaving the wooded path near the cabin. In his trunk, more tea sets, a list of new names. Children he hadn't reached yet, but was planning to. The wall in the cabin had dozens of marks, not all with names, but all children. The red fern never reopened after the news broke. Too much attention, too much grief. But Marisol didn't return anyway. She sat with Lucy in a quiet coffee shop 1 week later, both staring at a laminated menu. Neither of them would order from. Lucy reached across the table and took her hand. "I never had someone believe me," she said. Marisol smiled, eyes misting. I didn't need to believe. I just paid attention. The podcast aired a week later. The Waitress Who Never Gave Up. It went viral, not because of the crime, but because of the heart. A stranger, a booth, a memory. That's all it took.